Today on Mass Hysteria, former AARO Deputy Director Timothy Phillips.
Timothy Phillips was in there?
Uh-huh.
Did you trust him? Like, is he asking the right questions?
Yes, I think so. I
Yeah.
think that's what I really wanted to lean in and press on, is to make sure that their process was thorough.
Yeah.
I feel like it is.
Timothy Phillips, who is the acting director of the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Office, the Pentagon's office that investigates UAP sightings, explained these gremlin sensor kits like this, quote, "What we're doing is developing a deployable, configurable sensor suite that we can put in Pelican cases. Since the UAP target, the signature is not clearly defined, we really have to do hyperspectral surveillance to really try to capture these incidents."
All right, folks, thank you very much for joining Mass Hysteria today with Massachusetts MUFON. I'm Jim Awrach. I'm delighted to have with us Timothy Phillips. He is with the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, and he's given us the honor and privilege of speaking. And he's coming from the perspective of just a private U.S. citizen. He is not expressing any government or office opinions at all. He's just using his experience and drawing on his knowledge, both on that and also going all the way back through previous experience with different defense intelligence agencies. And of course, when he served as a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Marine Corps. Tim, thanks so much for joining. Appreciate it.
Okay, and I need to correct, I am no longer with AARO. Okay, I am currently on administrative leave. I signed my non-disclosure agreements and checked out of the Office of Secretary of Defense, returned to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, went through the CIA retirement system. I'm approved for retirement, and I have accepted what's called the Deferred Resignation Program, and I will be retired on 1 October. So I am no longer a government official.
I think that's a congratulations, if I understand it correctly.
It is. It's kind of strange to get up and not have an office to go to or a staff to work with. So I'm going through transition. This is the 13th day of retirement. So it's kind of weird.
Wow, that's something. That's wow. Congrats anyways. That's terrific.
Well, thank you. And that gives me the opportunity to speak as a private citizen.
That's great. I'm just curious, the whole experience you were telling me earlier was something like you had never been through before at AARO. How would you sum it up? Would you say exciting, unusual, weird, or it is what it is, or something like that?
Cautious. Being a good intel officer, we do our research, the preparation of the battlefield. And since I knew nothing about the organization, and it was an office that reported to the Deputy Secretary of Defense, I did my research. And the current director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, Lieutenant General Jeff Cruz, had walked into my office. He was the military advisor to the Director of National Intelligence, and he gave me a job after my tour in Afghanistan in August of 2021 was prematurely canceled since we were forced out of the country. And Jeff gave me a place to go to. So I was working for him. He had walked into my office and shut the door, and I said, "Oh, this is going to be interesting." And he asked me if I would consider applying for this opportunity. I knew nothing about it. They were looking for a deputy to help Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. I went through an interview process. I was approved, and then I was appointed by the Director of National Intelligence and sent over to OSD to serve as the deputy. And then about 6 weeks later, Sean decided to retire, and I became the acting director for about 10 months. Actively was looking for a credentialed scientist to be the director of AARO. I thought it was very, very important for AARO's credibility to have a credentialed scientist to be the director. I'm an intel officer. I am not a scientist, and I know my limitations. And we were able to recruit and select an absolutely incredible scientist and a very, very well-respected intelligence officer, Dr. John Skolaski, to come in and serve as the director. So that happened, I believe, in October of last year is when we got John in place. And then I, at that point, served as the deputy. And then when the new administration came in and they started with the optimization of the government and they offered the deferred resignation program, I considered it. I helped select the criteria for members of the Defense Intelligence Agency or the Defense Intelligence Establishment who were in a probationary status. And I thought it would be unfair to consume our feedstock. And I went through a lot of trouble to assess, recruit, and train these young officers into the IC. I had almost a 45-year career. In July would be 45 years. And I thought it was time to go. And my wife had asked that I retire, and I wanted to honor her request, especially after that last combat deployment. There was a period of time where she didn't know if I was alive or where I was. So not happy with that last job overseas.
Are you by DC right now? You know where you've been there?
Yeah, I'm actually in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So we drove up to Gettysburg and we toured the battlefield. It was a beautiful day. And then we checked in the hotels here in Carlisle. And tomorrow morning, there's going to be a very, very large Porsche swap meet and car show at the fairgrounds. And that's where I intend to be tomorrow. So it's a great event here. And it's the Mid-Atlantic Porsche Owners Club, Owner Association. So it's just a great event.
During all of your years of deployment, have you seen anything weird that you're allowed to talk about, comparable, even remotely comparable, without saying what it is to? I'm sure you've seen those publicized videos about, military presence. There's things like there was a Jellyfish UAP, and then there was a metallic orb. And,
Sure. I'm familiar with both of them, and I believe we've got them. AARO has them posted on their website. When it comes to the Jellyfish, that was a system called a PTEDS, and I'm not sure what that means, but it was the point surveillance system for force protection at one of the FOBs. And I believe I think that there was a couple of them. One was an Afghan case and one was an Awrach case, and I'm not sure which one. But those were a gaggle of balloons, with some of the balloons that were partially deflated, and they were moving with the prevailing wind in the direction of the wind. And if you look at the higher fidelity video, it's quite evident what it is. It's balloons. And we've seen that a couple times in both countries, a gaggle of balloons. I believe there was a case that AARO had where it was off the Atlantic coast. There was a test going on out by Pax River, and somebody had launched a gaggle of balloons tied together, about 45 balloons, that actually came on and fouled the test range. And as they were doing their sweep prior to the start of the test, the pilots had spotted that, and I think AARO had put that out as, we thought that was probably evidence of some type of advanced tradecraft where somebody had launched something to distract the force protection, the security personnel, so they could probably attempt to survey whatever is being tested out there in that range that day. So we have seen this before. I'm not saying that's what happened in Afghanistan or Iraq. Those were obviously partially deflated group of balloons that were just floating by the cameras. And what was so difficult about declassifying that, I believe one of those videos without authorization was leaked to the public. To go through the security review and request declassification, we have to go to the organization that owned that video. And then we had to ask them if there was any compromising information, the fact that we were there, or any technical specification or anything special about that sensor, that optical sensor that was on the aerostat balloon that was tethered there at that fob. Due to the turnover of units, both in Afghanistan and Iraq, and the fact that I believe that that video is probably 15 years old, it was quite an effort trying to understand who was in control of the fob, who was the commander at the time, to be able to assess the potential security risks of releasing that video so we can make it public. Just because something has been leaked, someone has violated their oath of office and provided privileged or classified information to the public, doesn't mean that we can release it to the public. There's still a process to be followed, and we are doing that. A matter of fact, I'm quite happy with the work that the U.S. government is doing in compliance with the new laws, where AARO, last time I counted, I think we almost had 10 contractors hired on board in the office reviewing content, attempting to have it reviewed and then have it declassified so it could be shared with the American public. As you know, there's also in the last year's National Defense Authorization Act, there's a new law saying that we have to identify UAP and UFO information, and wherever possible, declassified, make it public. It's actually the DoD CIO who's in charge of that, but all the classified, the SAP and CAP information goes to AARO, and AARO's the one that's doing the staff work, doing the due diligence to do the security review and request declassification of those materials. In the year and a half that I worked this issue, there was a small number of cases, a very small number of cases, probably less than 40, that we could not explain.